Hello, and thank you to Global Sources Online Show for inviting me to present today. I'd like to talk to you about the top 10 tips to avoid mistakes, even if you are an experienced importer. So let's start off by talking about who you are. You're probably either a B2C retailer with anywhere from one to quite a few stores. You could be a B2B wholesaler, someone who buys items and sells them to retailers, or you could be B2C in e-commerce with your own website, perhaps a Shopify site, or possibly on Amazon. So as I talk through these top 10 tips to avoid mistakes, I'm going to try to relate it to each one of your individual situations. So let me start off by telling you about myself. I began selling to retailers in 2001, and I began importing from China in 2005. I was formerly Global Business Manager for Microsoft Worldwide Sales and Marketing, which was quite large, over $7 billion a year. But I've also been, and I currently am, an entrepreneur, selling as a wholesaler, B2B to retailers, and then also as a retailer, selling on e-com platform on Amazon. I'm an author. I wrote the complete book of product design, development, manufacturing, and sales, and I teach tech entrepreneurs. Let me start off with the first tip, which is to communicate clearly. And if you've done any business with China, you quickly realize that yes may not mean yes. And it could mean that they acknowledge what you're saying, or they could just be polite, asking you to continue. They may not even understand what you're saying. So when you hear the word yes, it does not mean an agreement. So write everything down in as much detail as possible. So if you're a retailer and you're buying items for your retail store, that means on the purchase order, be as detailed as you can, be as clear as you can. The same thing, check your pro forma invoice and your commercial invoice. And of course, if you are purchasing shipping through your supplier, check all the details on the shipping as well. And if you're a wholesaler, again, you're going to want to make sure that all of the details are written down in your PO. Just like a retailer, you want to check your PI and your CI. You also might have an exclusivity agreement. So you want to make sure that everything is detailed as possible in the exclusivity agreement, as well as an NNN. If you're an e-commerce seller, once again, we go through a lot of the same ones, the purchase order, the PI, the CI, and shipping, since a lot of e-commerce, in particular Amazon sellers, are purchasing their shipping through their supplier. But you also have an additional level. You want to check to make sure that your prep and your labels and so on are also clearly communicated so there are no mistakes. So first tip, communicate clearly. Second tip, know your target price. What's your multiplier? If you are a retailer, your multiplier should be a 3x. And I know right away that's going to surprise some people. If you're a retailer, you're probably used to keystoning, and keystoning works most of the time. But recently, we have had a double hit, an increase in shipping prices, and of course, the tariffs if you're selling in the US. So if you are selling in the US, definitely put your multiplier at 3x. That means the price on the shelf should be 3 times more than the price you're paying your supplier. If you're not in the US, keystoning might work perfectly if you don't have to worry about the tariffs. As a wholesaler, look for a 10x multiplier. Again, the same reasons. We've got both shipping costs that have increased and we've got tariffs. And once again, if you're wholesaling outside of the US, you don't have to worry about the US tariffs. then a traditional 7x multiplier is good for you. E-commerce, if you're selling on Amazon, then you want a 6x multiplier. And to be clear, Amazon US. Why? One, because you've got the tariffs as mentioned. Two, you've got the ship increases as mentioned. And three, that US market is so competitive, you want to make sure that you are profitable even after PPC. If you're selling Amazon in other markets, you might be able to go back to a smaller multiplier. But in the US market, you definitely want to target 6x. So learn to do the math in your head really quickly. Once you see an item, if you're a retailer, look at the item price, multiply it by 3, and imagine that on your store shelves. Are your customers going to buy it at that price? Same thing, B2B wholesaler, imagine it on store shelves of your clients. If you take that price, multiply it by 10, can it be on the store shelves? And so on. So once you're able to do this in your head, that's the target you're going to negotiate for. And once you have the target, then you know if you can come to a price you can agree upon, or if you need to walk away. And if you walk away, I've got to tell you, there are a whole bunch of other suppliers with really good products. So feel free to walk away if you can't hit your target price. And once you know your target price, feel free to agree since you know you will be profitable. Next mistake, negotiate your MOQ. And I've seen this so many times. You'll ask the supplier, what's the MOQ? Well, the MOQ is 1,000. You only want 400. So you walk away. Don't do that. Always negotiate the MOQ. It's just like price, and you're willing to negotiate the price. So start off by questioning, why is the MOQ 1,000 units? And they may just have MOQ at 1,000 because they're trying to gate serious clients. So if they know that you're serious, that MOQ may come down. Or there might be specific reasons for it. For example, you might have an item and they already have it in stock and they're happy to sell 400 of them, but the packaging has an MOQ to it. Maybe you have a specific packaging that's unique or different. I've got one here with pretty unique packaging. The MOQ might be driven by something other than the entire unit. So break it out into parts. Find out, is it the packaging? Maybe there's a special motor that goes into the items that you're buying. And that will then allow you to say, okay, well, I'll buy 1,000 of those motors, hold on to 600 of them for me for my next order. And right now, just do the 400. I'll pay for all 1,000 motors, but break that out of the invoice. So I'm paying 400 for 400 units of everything except for the motors, and 1,000 of those motors. Hold on to those motors, they're mine. We'll bring them back into the next order. They'll be happy to do that. Same thing, the packaging. Oh, this packaging is unique. It costs a little bit more. Okay, no problem. I will pay for 1,000 of the packages. Break that out of the cost, detail it out. And for the other 400, I'm just going to pay for the 400 units. Hold on to that packaging. We'll come back to that in the next order. Or here's another way of addressing the MOQ. Discuss a surcharge. Well, your MOQ is 1,000 units. I only need 400. What's the surcharge? And serious suppliers will take that and come back to you with a surcharge. Perhaps they'll say the surcharge is $1 per unit. Okay, great. I'll pay the surcharge on this order. If my next order is over the MOQ, will you refund that surcharge back to my account? In other words, it's going to come back out of your next order. And by doing so, let's say your first order is 400, you're paying $1 surcharge, your next order is a full 1,000, but you get your $1 surcharge back on all 400, so your cost now comes down 400. Between the first and the second order, it washes out. There is no surcharge anymore, and you're still getting the price that you negotiate. So always negotiate your MOQ. As a retailer, this gives you an opportunity to sell products you may have missed out on before. As a wholesaler, gives you a chance to test out new products. And the same thing for an e-commerce retailer. It gives you an opportunity to test new products at a smaller amount than taking the risk at a large MOQ. So that's 3 tips. Let's take a look at the next one. Partner with your supplier. Communicate. Talk to them. Ask them what's hot. Ask them what are new and upcoming products that they may not be displaying. And of course, ask about payment terms. They want you to succeed. You want you to succeed. You want to be able to come back and order more items. So it becomes a win across the board. As a retailer, this gives you a chance to identify products that your competitors don't have because you know about new products, hot products, upcoming products. And you might even be able to negotiate exclusive agreement for your region. So perhaps you are the only retailer that's selling it in Carmel, California, or northern part of Israel. You can figure out a location where you don't have any competitors selling your same product, then you've got a competitive advantage. As a wholesaler, this gives you leads on potential modifications of products to set your products apart from anyone else. And of course, payment terms, well, that equals cash flow solutions. So if you can get payment terms negotiated, then your cash flow becomes a whole lot easier. In e-commerce, well, you get a chance to sell items that other competitors don't have because you have discovered what's new and upcoming and not publicized yet. Again, just like a wholesaler, you have opportunities for modifications, and this gives you a chance to differentiate your product and your brand. So partner with your suppliers. That's 4. Let's go to number 5. Partner with other buyers. Now, this is big, particularly for retailers. Join a buyer's club. With a buyer's club, if you're one of 10 buyers and you guys are not in the same locations, you're not competing with each other, well, that gives you the power of volume. Numbers speak loudly. And if you are able to purchase in higher amounts, you can overcome MOQ issues, you get volume discounts, you could fill a container and save money on shipping. So buyers clubs are the secret weapon that most people don't talk about. Absolutely one of the best tips you can have to get new products and better prices. As a wholesaler, look at it the other way. It gives you a chance to sell to buyers clubs. So if you can join some buyers clubs, and there's a fee for doing so as a wholesaler, you now have a great opportunity to bring your products out to a large number of retailers at one time. And if you're an e-commerce retailer, don't ignore buyers clubs for you. If you could join a buyers club with brick and mortar retailers, you get all of the same advantages. So partner with other buyers. We're halfway through. Let's take a look at number 6. Bundle. Now, this is something that's already familiar for a lot of e-commerce sellers and Amazon sellers, but it might be new to retailers. And this is where you combine 2 or more items to create a new item. For example, you could sell wine glasses and a big comfy nightshirt. You could even have something printed on the big comfy nightshirt, like some funny saying about drinking wine and relaxing. This gives you a chance to offer new and unique products, and you get to increase your price point. The old saying is that the sum is greater than its parts. Now you have this wonderful wine glass and big comfy t-shirt. That's a different product. That's a different price point. As a wholesaler, once again, you get to offer new, unique offerings, and you get to expand your product lines. So let's say you are selling corkscrews and wine glasses and wine accessories. This gives you a new product to add to your line. And for e-commerce, you probably are already aware of bundling. It does give you new, unique offerings. It's often done on Amazon, and You can use Amazon to help give you inspiration for bundling. Look at the section down below the listing that says frequently bought together. And right there is a great example of what you can bundle and be successful with. So that's 6. Let's go on to 7. Be IP cautious. Now, most recognizable characters and names are protected by intellectual property laws, intellectual property protection, and so on. So always ask if the product can be sold in your location. Now, the US is very, very tight on this. A lot of these characters and names and so on have US trademarks, US copyright, and so on. But you do want to ask about your location. If you're selling in Brazil, it might not be protected in Brazil. You might have a better opportunity there. If you're selling in the US, it probably is protected. So ask if the product can be sold in your location. And then judge what their answer is, because the risks are large. As a retailer, you've got legal risks, and that could be triple damages. As a wholesaler, you also have legal risks, obviously, but you may also lose your retailer clients. And for e-commerce, once again, you've got legal risks, but you also have risks of losing listing suspensions and so on. You're also going to have costs, attorney's fees. So if you take the gamble, balance that against the cost of your attorney fees. And if you think it's too much of a risk, pay attorney fees up front. Ask your attorney to research, is this character, is this name, is this product protected by IP? Because just a few dollars to an attorney might give you great information and to tell you that, yep, this one is available, you can absolutely sell it. Or, hey, stay away from this one, don't take a risk, this is protected. So gamble, but gamble the risk against your lawyer's fees. It might be worth those fees just to get double check if it's IP protected. Now we've got number 8. Take a chance. Be open to new and unexpected items. That's why you're here at the Global Sources online show. That's why you go to the show in person when we're all able to travel again, to discover those new and unexpected items. So take part of your budget, put it aside for those treasures. Being at a show puts you ahead of your competition. They're not here. They're not at the online show. They're not at the in-person show. So leverage that. Be open to new and unexpected items. And when you're there, particularly at the in-person shows as a retailer, keep your eyes open to see how it's merchandised, because that's how you're going to merchandise it in your store, on your shelves. That's what shows are all about. You get to see unique items. And if it catches your eye, then it's probably going to catch the customer's eyes. As a wholesaler, this is a great way to expand either your current line or into new lines. And once again, if it catches your eyes, it's going to catch the end customer's eyes. That's what your clients want to have happen. And of course, it brings you unique items. E-commerce, once again, unique items, but it also allows you to expand into a new niche. You might see something you fall in love with in a niche you haven't done before. Take advantage of that. Take a chance and keep an open mind. That's 8. We're coming towards the end. Let's look at number 9. Inspections. Always have a pre-shipment inspection. And I say always. I'm going to say if you are buying more than $700 worth of product, have a pre-shipment inspection. Why? Well, the trading company who you're buying from is probably not going to do QC upon purchase from the factory. That's up to you. And sometimes there are some factories out there, if their product did not pass inspection for their client, they don't destroy it, they still sell the product and perhaps to a trading company. So best practice, always do a pre-shipment inspection. If you're buying from the factory, well, even the best factories make mistakes. There might be someone new on the production line who's missing something. There might be a new QA person who's missed stuff in quality assurance. So always do a pre-shipment inspection. That's for the retailer. As a wholesaler, you also may want to do a QA for manufacturing, which means halfway through the production, you may want to have an inspection done, and you may also want to oversee the loading of your containers. E-commerce, just like other retailers, definitely do a pre-shipment inspection. So those are 9 of our 10 tips for avoiding mistakes. Here's number 10, and I think you're going to like it, and that is follow-up when the show is over. Install WeChat. Find out how to communicate with your suppliers. So these are suppliers that you're already doing business with, or you see something that's really exciting, but you didn't make a purchase. Communicate with them. Follow up after the show, because you might find out about new products before the next show. If you find out about it before the next show, then you found out about it before your competitors have. That allows you to get new products in your store early. And as a wholesaler, not only do you get new products early, but this gives you a chance to discuss potential exclusivity. If you see this, it's hot, you want to take a chance on it, you can build out that agreement. And for e-commerce, it's the same thing. You get your items before competitors do, because you've got this relationship with the supplier. And once again, it gives you a chance to potentially get an exclusive agreement as the only online seller. So follow up. It builds a relationship. And so that you're aware, in China, the Chinese language has a word for a business relationship. It's so important to them to have a business relationship. We don't even have a word for that in English. So take advantage of the importance of a relationship, follow up, and continue to communicate with your suppliers. So there you have 10 tips that will help avoid mistakes that even experienced importers have done. All right. So let me tell you about myself. If you want to reach out or communicate, connect, and talk about any of these or other questions, my name is Stephen Selikoff. I'm at the productdevelopmentacademy.com. And I'll tell you right now, my email is stephen@productdevelopmentacademy.com. And I do want to finish up by thanking Global Sources Online Show and to each and every one of you that are watching. Thank you very much.